Just so you know, that's what I did yesterday. You see? Like I said, I promised my landlady that I was gonna finish it out. Finish it up. It's a pretty grueling job. I don't like it, people. But I do it for my grandson. I know it doesn't make sense, but these are memories that he's gonna remember. Trust me. Okay, people. May 2nd or May 3rd? 2017. Anyway, just want to say that I have a right to face my accusers. Okay? The bank accused me of elderly abuse through third-party accusations. Fraser Health accused me of elderly abuse because the social workers and the rest of the Fraser Health staff that jumped on that bandwagon said that I was refusing John's care because I refused to pay for convalescent care, because they wanted to take him and put him into convalescent care even though he didn't want to go. Okay? And because I wouldn't pay for it, because they knew he had a pension plan and he could afford $1,000 a month for temporary care and then be moved into long care and pay $17,000 or $1,700, I should say, $100 a month or more, right, for long-term care. They wanted him because they knew that he could afford to pay for it, right? And then, of course, his sister jumped on the bandwagon because she was looking for that superannuation life insurance policy, right? Because it's a family affair with them, right? 8 family members, 9 family members within a family, all working for the provincial government, banking those superannuation life insurance policies and all those other perks that those government employees make, right? Just for having their name on the roster. They assumed that he had one too, right? So because he was getting old and whatever, that was time to jump in and scoop up on it, right? And because his sister works within the system and has been working within the system for the last 40 years, she knows how to play the system. She knows the ins and outs. She knows all the nooks and crannies. She knows exactly what she's doing. Because some of the policies that they're using today, in terms of this code white, where they, put themselves in the position of being the victim when in fact they're the antagonizers. They're the ones that set the stage. They're the ones that are the actors that create the drama so that they can do whatever it is that they do to justify what they do. But at the end of the day, it was Fraser Health and CIBC Bank that made accusations against me to justify their actions in terms of medically kidnapping Uncle John, right? Isolating him away from his immediate family that he had helped to raise in terms of my kids, and giving him medication so that he couldn't get up, couldn't think clearly, right? Eventually removed his brain capacity to think for himself and do for himself and, to escape their clutches, right? And lost his memory from the stress of it all because he was punished for thinking about us and asking to see us or asking to come home, because that wasn't the agenda. The agenda was to take over his assets. So anyway, it was Fraser Health and the bank that facilitated that, because if they would have followed the mandates within their institutions, the sister, regardless of whether she was a nurse or not, I've said this before, couldn't have done what she did. So I have a right to face my accusers in court. So when I go in front of a judge, I'm going to remind the judge that I have a right to face my accusers. The sister is not the accuser. She just capitalized off of a corrupt system that she's already facilitated with other families in terms of seizing their assets to the public guardian trustee or whatever, right? Because she knows what she's doing. She's a part of it. She works for that system. She just got her bone, so she can go get 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 more bones for the public guardian trustee and the provincial government. People don't like to hear that, but that's basically what it is, and I have a right to say that. And I have a right to say it in front of a judge, and I have a right to ask CIBC Bank what gave them the right to dishonor a 25-year contract based on allegations from Fraser Health. Whether it came through third party, through the sister or not, they should have investigated it. And as for Fraser Health, with their allegations, they should have charged me. Right? And instead of putting Rumorville out there and then signing up with GMOI to spread that rumor, right? So that it distracts away from the issues in hand, right? So that when it goes to court, it can be thrown out, right? Because it's so complicated. That's the problem, people. It's too complicated. They make it complicated on purpose, right? So that it does get thrown out of court. But if it gets thrown out of court, people, I'll just file another one, right? And then when they're coming after me for their lawyer fees, I'll be in front of a judge saying the same thing. I have the right to face my accusers, right? They're charging me for something that, you know, in terms of if it gets dismissed and they want to charge me $5,000 for a copy and paste for their time, calling me frivolous, right? And I go to court to dispute that. Or they call me into court because I can't pay for it. And then they're going to tell me to go to that little pro bono group to help me with my bankruptcy filing. I'll be like, just put me in jail. Just put me in jail. I'll serve my time in jail. And then after I get out of jail, I'll file another lawsuit for wrongful, detention. Just like they wrongfully detained Uncle John. Like, it's just going to be a hamster wheel. That's all it's going to be. Right? So it's either going to get dealt with, and that's what I'm going to tell the judge when I go to court. I don't know when I go to court. I don't know how I go to court. I don't know anything. I just know that sooner or later I'll be in front of a judge, and I'm going to tell the judge I have a right to face my accusers. And my accusers can, Fraser Health and the CIBC Bank, they can come in and they can lay down the paperwork that gives them the right to do the things that they have done to this family, right? And if there's criminal charges that need to be laid against me, the judge can lay those charges against me. And if there's criminal charges that need to be laid against the Fraser Health Authority or the bank, then the judge can lay criminal charges against them, okay? Because that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with bank fraud. We're dealing with credit card fraud. We're dealing with unlawful detainment. We're dealing with conspiracy. We're dealing with 74 infractions under the Criminal Code of Canada. Okay, I've pointed them out under my notice of claim because that's how complicated it is. Because Uncle John it was just his turn. He wasn't the tip of the iceberg. This stuff has been going on for a long time. Thousands of families have filed complaints to the Ombudsman prior to 2009. And then the Ombudsman came out with a report in 2009 stating that these families that are filing these reports against the public guardian trustee, because normally that's the agency that's taking over the assets of people like Uncle John, right? It states clearly that the patients, the relatives, the representative advocates of these people that are losing their assets are fearful of the staff of these health authorities and the retaliation that they're putting upon families. Just like with these vindictive, spiteful social workers that attacked my children, right? Telling them that they were frivolous to consider Uncle John to be a family member, that Uncle John was just living in this house as a room, as renting a room in a hotel. They didn't want to hear that Uncle John held Shimei the moment she was born. They didn't want to hear that. Instead, they told Shimei that Uncle John was just renting a room as if he was living in this house for 23 years, as if it was a hotel. Hold on a minute. So, in light of that, and that report came out in 2009, and it's still going on. Because like I said, when Uncle John was in that temporary care ward, there was like 3 men, all with assets that weren't allowed to leave until they sold their assets and paid for their time in that temporary care ward, and then made arrangements to go into long-term care so that they could pay for that. That's what they were being detained to do. And that's what we know of, people. But the point is, it's already documented with the ombudsman that these people that facilitate this stuff, that operate in these temporary care wards, right, in partnership with crooked banks, because it doesn't have to be CIBC Bank, it's the whole banking system in itself, right? Because not everybody banks with just one bank. I mean, there's all kinds of banks out there, right? And credit unions and that type of thing. You know, the retaliation. GMOI is the retaliation, right? Maybe it started with, you know, I personally think that John's wife, Joan Duncan, kept her superannuation life insurance policy. I believe that his extended family, his sister and whatnot, his loving adopted daughter, who never came to see Joan, not even once in the 5 years that she lived over here. One day I'm going to pull out this letter that she wrote, her mom, and it got in late after her birthday, right? I think it was when she was still living in the care ward, right? Not the 4 years that she was living here, but she went into long-term care, right? Wrote her mom this letter. It looked like it was written from a 7-year-old. Like, honest to God, that's the mentality. When you see it, I'll show it to you people. Talking about how she's playing this computer game with her little slave, right? And that she didn't have no time to come see her mom in the 5 years that her mom lived over here, her adoptive mom. In the 5 years that her adopted mom lived over here in Vancouver, it was like a $30 ferry ride one way. She couldn't spend $60, not even for one day, out of 5 years to come visit her adopted mom while she lived over here. Because she was too busy playing a computer game with her little slave. Well, that's what that little GMOI is. It's kind of like a little slave. They got the nonprofit trademark name up there like a little slave, right? Because they're trying to hide what happened to Uncle John. Because, again, the sister, the loving nurse sister, has facilitated thousands and thousands with those complaints going to the ombudsman that specifically say that those nurses and other care workers that facilitate this stuff, because it's not just one nurse, people, retaliate against the families that they're taking these assets away from through mainly the public guardian trustee. I have a right to face my accusers, okay? If you're going to accuse me of something, smear my name, slander my family, defame my nonprofit, then stand up in court and do it in front of a judge and really make it public. Stop with the insinuendos. Stop with the gossip. Stop with the insinuations. Otherwise, we're just going to be on this hamster wheel until I die. Basically, that's what's going to happen. So in the meantime, yesterday, I thought I was going to have a good day because, you know, I'm not sure if this new board director, I mean, he's not really that new anymore, but he's still new because he hasn't really started to do anything yet, right? But he's still signed on. He still wants to do things, but he's a busy man. He's a businessman. You know, he works really, really hard with his wife, right? But they know what the economy is like. They know what's going on with the people in the neighborhood. They're not stupid people. So in the meantime, you know, he was supposed to come over and pick up some paperwork. He asked for the bylaws. I'd already given him the bylaws. He asked for the minutes for all the nonprofits back in the day, so I got into my files, which I will be submitting to court as evidence, because on every minute, like in every annual general meeting since 2001, Uncle John has participated in, except for when he disappeared. We had no annual general meeting in 2015, and we had no annual general meeting in 2016, for the simple fact is, I'm depressed, and Uncle John is still missing in action. He's still missing in action, people. He's still registered as a board director to the foundation, but he's missing in action. For somebody that was there for 14 years straight, for every meeting that we ever had, right? All of a sudden up and disappears, right? So that only a select group of people can prosper, right? Right? The healthcare workers within it's not enough for them to get good paychecks. The upper ones, not the exploited workforce that's coming in from Fiji. We're not talking about those ones. We're talking about the Eleanors, right, that have been with the system for 40 years and are making $125,000 a year as a registered nurse, managing some immunization program, getting awards for sticking people with God knows what. As the level of autism goes up in our society, because you can't sue pharmaceutical companies for bad vaccine batches. Well, this is what she promotes. Flu shots and all that shit. Making, $100,000 or more a year on top of her benefits, on top of her pension plan that's building up, on top of her life insurance policy that's building up. But it's not about her. It's about them. It's about the people like them. This one little group of them, right, are the ones that are facilitating through the corporate entities this corruption. And I have a right to face that corruption in court, so that it becomes documented. Because as I'm talking to this board director, whether he's watching my videos or not, he still has to deal with the backlash of this nonsense. Uncle John was there every year for 14 years straight. And these people that took him want everybody around the neighborhood to forget that fact, because they just want to scurry off with his money and anybody else's money that they can take. And then, like I said, those families normally just file a complaint with the ombudsman, as if the ombudsman is going to do something, which they never do. So therefore, I never filed a complaint with the ombudsman, because I've already been dealing with the ombudsman with my grandson and with my daughter. And they weren't very helpful with that, because they don't care. It's just a government agency for more funds to go into there to prop up somebody so they can go home and feel good about themselves because they're employed. And then every 5 years they write a report with recommendations, like I said, that never go through. If the report was written in 2009 that the people that are being victimized are afraid of the healthcare workers, are afraid of the staff within those environments because of the retaliation that comes with the medical kidnapping of human beings. If the family members and the advocates and the patients themselves are afraid of these people in 2009 and it's still happening, well, come on, people, wake up. So I don't know. Yesterday, like I said, now he got busy. He was supposed to come with his wife because I'm asking for more board directors. I'm asking him to go out and get some more board directors because I'm losing the nonprofit. The nonprofit is going down the tubes. Thank you very much, GMOI. Thank you very much, Fraser Health. Thank you very much, CIBC Bank. Thank you very much, Duncan Clan. I hope it was worth it to you. We already know the BC Liberal government has been against this nonprofit ever since the BC Liberal government came into power. Because if it wasn't, the nonprofit would have had more opportunity under their propaganda. Because that's all it was, people, with the BC Liberal government. Just propaganda. All they did was bring in a bunch of fucking crooks into the country, into BC. They brought in crooks. Houses are still selling for $1.5 million. 4 houses down from me, $1.5 million. So the money laundering is still happening. It's still happening, people. It hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped. So again, this propaganda with the BC Liberal government, oh, we brought in a 15% sales tax, blah, 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 whatever they did to try and curb that bullshit, hasn't stopped anything because it's too much money involved. Now, the thing about that person that owns that house, she's still able to walk around and not need home care assistance or anything like that. She's a dog trainer for the police. That's what she does. She trains dogs for the police. She doesn't say she trains them for police. She just says she trains them, but you can tell. But when she gets a little older, just because she was working for the police department doesn't mean she's safe. Because it's too entrenched, this corruption. But yeah, 1.5. If she was old, if she was 75, 76, 77, 78, had a few health issues where she needed just a little extra help at home, she wouldn't get that because the BC Liberal government made sure there wasn't any funding for that because they want those houses, people. They want those houses for that $1.5 million that's going to bring in that tax revenue. It's all about the tax revenue. So I don't want to drag this out. I have a right to face my accusers. And I'm going to fight for that right, even if I have to put in claim after claim after claim and be regarded as an idiot for doing it. Okay? I've been working on this nonprofit for 17 years. All right? I've been slapped in the face time after time after time by multiple people from multiple levels within the economy. In other words, from the poorest of the poor that were jealous and couldn't do what I did, to the rich that were feeling threatened by actually having the community become empowered through those trust accounts where we could actually take like I said, through the fundraiser that could bring in $100,000 within a year to put a cash infusion into the homeless area over here where the police actually don't have to step over the homeless people in order to go build their cop shop. Like poverty pimping. Now, why do people like to pimp poverty? You know? Take advantage of people. So I don't know what's going to happen with this nonprofit. I really don't. I mean, yesterday I was feeling kind of positive, right? I was feeling upbeat, right? I was feeling hopeful. I mean, obviously I've put in the effort year after year to some degree on something, right? But when you've got corporate corruption, right, that's being fueled by greedy human beings, right, that are on power trips and money grubs, you know, money grabbing. And that's all it seems to be, right, with their fake little charity on the side, because it's fake, trust me. With a bunch of old people sitting up in AKA mini prisons that are dubbed healthcare facilities, right, propping up the pharmaceutical industry, right, so those guys can get rich by making a brain-dead population of elderly to shut them up and keep them quiet as their houses are being sold for $1.5 million. So that the government can make its money one way or another, whether the old person is paying for their health care or whether they making money off of those house sales. That's all. That's what it's. Or you know, people going bankrupt, right? You're either going to go bankrupt or get locked up. Which one would you prefer? Going bankrupt or getting locked up when you're 76 years old? Okay, people, this is May 2nd, 2017. I don't know how long this camera is going to work for. The screen is just getting worse and worse. But in the meantime, I have a board director coming over here in a little bit to pick up the minutes from 2001 and on, right? So I have to get them ready. Here's oh. Anyway, here's 2001. Can you see? There's Uncle John's name. He did a proxy vote for Joan, his wife, back in 2001. Right? This is our first official meeting. So I am going to... I'm leaving it here so you can read it. You can just stop the video for a minute. Hold on a minute. There's another page there. There's a few pages. I don't even remember what's on there. I can't see now. The screen kicked out. There we go. Atlanta, USA, Inner Strength, works with inner city youth, camping away from the street life. Judy has been in contact with them over the past year. Proposal to license out trademark with no fees attached for 1 to 2 years to bring awareness to our programs. Discuss further arrangements after January of 2002. Are you listening to that, people? What else is there here? This is our second. These are the things that we discussed. This new board director wants this stuff. I told him that's it. We need some new board directors on board here. I'm losing it. I can't do this anymore. It's impossible. I just don't have the energy. I'm worn out. I'm being slandered. Defamation of character, all this crap. Anyway, I am going to ask him to take at least 2 boxes. It looks like this category here is for pets. So it's kind of appropriate for, there's the key, in memory of Dr. Bath, or in gratitude of Dr. Bath. He was the vet who got me started on these collection boxes. Sorry it took so long, Dr. Bath, to get them out, and we don't even know if they're getting out yet. But if you're listening to this video, right, I don't know why this is blinking. I have the camera plugged in. It should not be blinking. Hold on a minute. Okay, it was full, right? That's what it was. So I had to delete a video as best as I could. Anyway, you can remember these. Those are those little pepper pouches to give moral support to Bayou Corn up in Louisiana, USA. I'm trying to open one up here. Right? It's a little pebble pouch. Throw it into the water or into the pond, or whatever it is, and it gets that ripple effect out. It's just to show moral support. It's a shout out, right, to Louisiana, USA, giving them moral support with that Bayou Corn, with the salt dome collapsing. And then these are the Lucky Charms, right, with the horse chestnut. So I'm going to wipe those down briefly, and then he can choose 2 boxes, whichever one he wants, or he can take all 4, it doesn't matter to me. because I'm not doing anything with them. And I think I found the other key. Here's the other key, and as we were saying, this is in gratitude to Dr. Bath, who got this program started. So hopefully today, the new board director I'm going to show him what I'm doing with the other stuff with Uncle John, and then I'm going to show him this stuff here. I'm going to get this ready so he can take the copy of the minutes since the beginning of the nonprofit, because he's already got the bylaws and he needs the minutes from back in the day. So I'm going to photocopy as many of those as I can. And being that these are for the pet program, right, in terms of municipal, provincial, not so much federal, but if the municipality and the province step up to the plate, then it's just a matter of time before you can draw on resources on a federal level. So in this case, I would highly recommend for him to be thinking about not so much about a pet program per se, as maybe a spade and neuter program for the wildlife that is domesticated, such as raccoons, because I'm sure he's got problems. Everybody's got problems with raccoons, so we need to start doing something about that. And a spade and neuter program and a feeding program is a good direction to start pursuing. Obviously, not every dollar is going to go into that. Obviously, the program needs to be developed, but some of those dollars coming into these boxes can definitely go towards that. And if somebody makes a $5 donation into the box, they can have a choice of either a Lucky Charm or they can have a Pebble pouch to take home with them. Now, I don't have time to continue to make these things, people. This is what we have. This is all we got. I can probably make a few more of these because I got a big bag of that. But in terms of sewing, I don't have that. But I'm going to explain to our board director that this can create part-time jobs. It's something that we can invest into when we draw on some money, because 20% on the dollar goes into program development on these boxes. So out of that 20%, we can buy materials or we can have materials donated, either or, and we can pay somebody. So if we're getting a $5 donation on this, we can pay somebody $1 or $2 to make it for us, right? And then it's $1 for material. You're still making a $2 profit. It's not the money, it's the moral support, it's the social responsibility, it's the feeling connected to the immediate community and all, as well as the larger community. This is what this does. This brings in the larger community. This brings us into a more national state. It goes out, it ripples out into the nation, and continent, right? Because we're dealing with two different countries here, Canada and the USA. So, but we'll just call it the nation. It ripples out into the nation. It ripples out across Canada. It ripples out into, the Bayou Corn, Louisiana. And then from there, it ripples out throughout the United States, right? This brings luck to the individual. And then it ripples out prosperity out into the community, which ripples out into the nation, right? Which would be Canada and the United States. And this helps to facilitate I read this little book last night to my grandson about electricity. Just a children's book. And I'm 55 and I've never thought of it this way. So I actually learned something new last night based on this little book. And basically what it was teaching you about electricity and how it works. And it gave you a little experiment, which I'm going to do with Andre, right? Just hold on. I'm going to put this on myself for a second, right? Just hold on a minute. Hold on, people. Why not? Why not? I haven't even started my day yet. I'm waiting for our board director to show up, right? Okay, hold on a minute. So anyway, here's this thing about this little book that I read my grandson. Okay, I found it to be, I'm like, gee, I learned something. And this is the way you kind of got to look at it. Electricity. In order to make electricity, a generator, right? You have your magnet in the middle. You have your magnet in the middle, and then the coils go around the magnet. And then you have some sort of energy source, whether it's water, wind, that type of stuff, to push the energy, right, to spin the magnet. Because once you start spinning that magnet, the electricity that comes from that spinning goes into the wire that's coiled around the magnet, right? And then from there, the wires lead out, right? But electricity can't run unless it goes in a complete circle. But you can break that circle by breaking it here, right, with a light switch or whatever it is. But if electricity itself will stop if it can't keep going in and then back out, in and back out. It has to go and around and around and around. Well, this kind of stuff here, on a, I don't know what kind of, I don't know what kind of level you want to place it at, but it's to generate electricity. That's what it is. It goes around and around. It ripples out into the community, right? Like the pebble pouch. You toss it into the body of water and it ripples out. That is a form of energy. And the more you have rippling, and then of course it picks up, picks up, picks up. And that's why this little pebble pouch can go as far as Louisiana, USA. And if you can get that far with electricity, it's just a matter of time before it comes back to you, right? So it's meant to distribute prosperity and wealth. It was created for the right intentions. Same thing with these collection boxes. Now, these collection boxes were not my idea. They were the vet, right? The vet's idea. Dr. Bath's idea. Back in the day, I don't remember when, but a while ago, right? And since then, he's moved on, and I think he's a vet in Saskatchewan now. And he was supportive of the nonprofit, and he told me, this is the, just make the box, whatever, make sure it's a box, nice little box, right, and put a lock on it. And well, of course, my life, my life, so it took me a while to do that, and then by the time I showed up, he was gone, and it was new guys in there, and the new guys don't really know anything, so that box is still sitting at the vet's underneath the counter, people, because I don't have the energy or the resources to go out there. Because so anyway, we've got these, so I'm gonna ask the board director today to take them with him, because I've already given the bylaws. I'm asking him to invite new board directors, da-di-di-da. I'm explaining to him what's going on with Uncle John. I'm going to take him to my sewing table. I'm going to let him see it for himself, that I'm overwhelmed with this. I'm tired. I made a promise with my landlady that I'd really just try and put an effort to finish up with this yard with the majority of the laying down of the bricks, and and the building of structures, or if I can't build it, I'll take it down, right? Or I'll hire somebody to try and finish it. I don't know. I'm like hanging on a thread. The board director needs to know this. So in the meantime, hopefully he'll take these. Well, he's going to take them. I'm sure he'll take them, right? And he'll find a couple of businesses that will just put them there, no pressure. If people want to make a $5 donation, they can have their little pebble pouch for the ones that are available. Because again, we have to create jobs, right? Now, how we're going to create those jobs, I don't know. Let's fill up these boxes first and then see what kind of money we have. And then we'll take 20% and maybe we can find somebody that can make this stuff, right? And then it's like any kind of generator. You start small and then you build on it and you get that current running. You have to get that current running. You can bring in the light switch here, and you can bring in the light switch there. But this is a generator, people. This is a generator. This is what this is. And now we have to run the lines. Okay? So I'm going to stay positive on that. So a little bit of nonprofit today. So I gotta go because I gotta photocopy these, get them ready. I gotta make him feel like when he walks out of my door that he himself as an individual is empowered within his own community. Right? He didn't sign on if he didn't think there was something of value within this nonprofit. It's just my life took a freaking detour, right? But at the end of the day, he is a board director. He deserves a chance. So I'm going to give him, what can I say, his own energy plant. Just so you know, that's what I did yesterday. You see? Like I said, I promised my landlady that I was going to finish it up. It's a pretty grueling job. I don't like it, people, but I do it for my grandson. I know it doesn't make sense, But these are memories that he's going to remember. Trust me.